I'm not sure if the child is okay. We're gonna find out today because we left off on a cliffhanger. No, you weren't here. Uh, we just found out some stuff. Basically, uh, Mion is still in a bad mood because she pretty much knows we broke into the storehouse. Everyone seems to pretty much know and has been questioning us about it. Rika questioned us about it. We found her like crying and she asked us about it and we were like we finally admitted like yeah, we broke in. And she's like, "Oh, don't worry, leave it to me. You'll be fine. Just forget about Tomitaki and Takano." And I thought that was really weird and creepy and I was like, "Okay." Uh the thing is though is Shion also did the same thing but revealed what she did to the mayor, and the mayor said the same stuff as Rika, but the mayor disappeared last time. And so now we're scared. Uh, Now we're scared that Rika's gonna disappear. Sorry for making you flinch. I'm eating watermelon, so I'm in and out. Yeah, Shion's the one you don't like. Finished my watermelon. We got new tips. Let's see here. From the scrapbook. Number 8. The three families in modern times. As previously described, the Three Families Council Day is a mere shell of democracy. In reality, it is a dictatorship run by the Sonozaki family. I'm afraid too, but at least we can get through these tips before we get back in the game. Both the Kimayoshi and Furude families are far from their former glory, and it doesn't seem at all like they've maintained the ancient traditions. Only the Sonozaki family has retained their glory from the past, and has inherited many colorful traditions from the age known as Onigafuchi village. Even the most recent verifiable examples of Watanagashi that occurred at the end of the Meiji era seems to have been done under the orders of the Sonozaki family. Refer to the three families' genealogical tree from the late Meiji. After the start of the Meiji era, the Sonozaki family wanted to push the development of Hinamizawa village, so they took a strong role in leadership. During the Dam Wars a few years ago, the Kimayoshi family served as chair of the opposition alliance, but this was in name only. In actuality, the Sonozaki family reigned as leader behind the scenes. People whisper that perhaps the Kimayoshi family dictated acts of opposition that could be publicized, and the Sonozaki family enacted those which could not. Even in Hinamizawa, they whisper that the multitude of unsettling incidents reported during the dam protests, such as the kidnapping of the famous head of the Ministry of Construction's son, have been carried out by the Sonozakis. Additionally, they say that perhaps the Sonozaki family's secret maneuvering was responsible for the serial freak death incidents that have continuously occurred in recent years as well. The serial freak death incidents are without a doubt the second coming of the traditional Watanagashi. They must be enacting the Watanagashi on the day of the original Watanagashi, which has fallen to the level of an ordinary village festival, in order to remind the villagers of the holy laws of Onigafuchi village. It's safe to assert that exploring the Sonozaki family is the fastest route for researching it today. If I can expose the contents of the Furude Shrine storehouse, I'd like to narrow my research target to the Sonozaki family next. Well, too bad you died. The Sonozaki house is strictly guarded by security cameras on the premises, but thankfully I've become acquainted with the sisters Mion, the next heir, and Shion. I want this to be a breakthrough I can connect to my next line of research. Their punishment isn't over. This looks like it's at the Watanagashi.
いえいえ、気にしないでくださいよ。この店でおでんを食べるとですね。
No, don't worry about it. You see, when you order the Odin here...
なぜか年計のガソリンスタンドの請求書に化けちゃうんですよ。
For some reason, it ends up on the annual invoice for our gas contracts.
だから遠慮しないでもう一杯飲んでいけばいいのに。
So don't be shy and have another drink. Does Tomitaki even know about all this? Probably not. Well, actually... maybe. Takano seemed like the type to be, like, very excited to talk about that kind of stuff, so she probably talked to him about it. It's like, ooh, I gotta get in the Sonozaki house. And he's like, uh-huh. Too bad they're both dead, though. The man, red-faced, waved his hand to say that he'd had enough, and disappeared into the brilliant neon lights in front of the station.
クマちゃんも勉強しといてくださいよ。謙虚な人が結局一番長生きするんです。
Kuma-chan, you should be taking notes. The most modest people are the ones who live the longest.
さっきの話、本当っすかね?
Is all that true?
さて、それはわからないですけどね。真偽はともかく、そういう話がまことしやかに流れてるってことには意味があると思いますよ。
Well, I don't know about that. Whether or not it's true, I think there's meaning in hearing something that sounds so plausible.
そんなのが村長を狙う動機になりうるんすかね。
Would something like that be a motive to go for the mayor?
熊ちゃん、いつも言ってるでしょ。動機っていうのはその本人に十分でありさえすれば足りるんです。
Kuma-chan, here's what I always say. The motive only has to be enough for the person in question.
価値観の違いをよく考えなくちゃ。
You need to think about how different people value different things.
あ、お母さん、もう一杯ください。
Hey, bartender, give me another mug. Though we have been suppressing the information, Tomitake and Takano's deaths were already known throughout Hinamizawa. All the rumors point to them having incurred the wrath of Oyashiro-sama for setting foot in the Forbidden Temple, the storehouse for ritual implements. According to the rumors, there were two other people who went in there with them. Shion Sonozaki and Keiichi Maibara. People were whispering in the shadows that those two would be cursed by Oyashiro-sama as well. Apparently, however, the responsibility didn't fall solely on the four trespassers' shoulders. Until last year, it was locked up tight. This year had been changed to a simpler lock. Hadn't that been what allowed thieves to enter so easily? Those were the rumors going around.
熊ちゃんは見たことありませんか。私はずいぶん前に何かのようで行った時に見たことをよく覚えてますよ。
Have you ever seen it, Kuma-chan? I remember it well. I had to go there for something quite a while back.
すみません。ちょっと思い出せないっす。
So I don't really remember.
そりゃもうおっかないくらいに厳重に施錠してありましたね。
It was locked up so tight it was scary.
抜きでどっかりと塞がれていて、
There were these really heavy bars holding it shut.
まるで大金庫みたいに厳重な蔵だったんですよ。
It was sealed up as good as a bank vault. This year, it was a very simple and cheap padlock. The lone girl protecting the shrine, Rika Furude, disliked the heavy locks and consulted with the mayor. Oh. Who had replaced it with a simpler padlock.
だから村長とフルでリカも同罪ってことなんですか。だとしたら村長に続いてフルでリカもまずいじゃないですか。
So then the mayor and Rika Furude share the crime? So then after the mayor, wouldn't Rika Furude be in danger next?
その可能性は大ですね。
There's a decent possibility.
熊ちゃん、
Kuma-chan,
ひなみ沢を巡回している覆面者に至急連絡。
I want you to contact all the cars we have in Hinamizawa.
フルデ神社近辺に張り付かせてください。
Tell them to stick near the Furude shrine.
了解っす。
Got it. This is bad. This is bad. Every sign is pointing to Rika is gonna disappear. Oh no. Everything is pointing to Rika disappearing. After hanging up on Shion, I searched for Rika-chan's phone number on my school's contact list. There it is. My fingers trembled with urgency, and I failed multiple times to put in the simple 5-digit number.
ケイチ、
Keiichi,
こんな時間に電話？
you calling someone at this hour?
夜遅くは先方に失礼だからよしなさい。
It's late and it's being rude to the other person.
今はそれどころじゃないんだよ。
That doesn't matter right now. I shouted angrily at my mother, listening to the dial tone. Pick up, come on, pick up. Time was 11 p.m. Certainly wasn't early. It was essentially the middle of the night. Had Rika-chan already gone to bed? The phone would be ringing constantly though, so she'd get back up for me? Rika-chan didn't pick up. She didn't pick up. She didn't pick up. Maybe she just happened to miss it. Maybe her bed was just too far away from the phone. The sound of a phone ringing gets clearer and clearer the longer you go on sleeping. Then... bathroom? Yeah, she must be taking a bath. If that was the case, then even if she heard the phone, she wouldn't be able to pick up. It was a little late to be taking a bath, but it was possible she normally took baths right before going to bed. I'll wait 30 minutes, then try calling again. I say haul ass to her house! Even as I was thinking that, I called her house over and over again. I kept calling. Over and over, again and again, I kept on calling her, but she didn't pick up even once. I think I kept trying for about 30 minutes. Yet she wasn't picking up. My phone call so persistent that she had gotten scared of picking up the receiver? No, that couldn't possibly be it. There's no point in doing this any longer. Best thing to do would go there in person. Where was Rika-chan's house, though? Shit, I've never even asked her where she lived. Her residence was written there in the contact list, but it was an address with mostly numbers, so I couldn't tell where it was just by reading it. Isn't there a map or something in here? Rika Furude. Last name was Furude. It's a bit of an odd last name, so it might be easy to find. Thinking that, I rummaged around the drawer with the phone book, but could only find things like takeout menus and phone numbers for public establishments. Shit. I tore one thing after another out of the drawer, but I didn't come up with any clues as to where Rika-chan's house was. Calm down, Keiichi Maibara. If you don't know, then just ask. Ask someone who does know.
そうだ。レナなら知ってるに違いない。
That's it. Rena's gotta know. I looked up Rena's phone number on the contact list. Rena Ryugu. There she was. Hello? This is Ryugu. It was the voice of a grumpy-sounding man. Must have been Rena's father. I am calling in the middle of the night. I need to be polite.
夜分遅くに申し訳ありません。
I'm sorry for calling so late at night.
前原と申しますが、レナさんはいらっしゃいますか？
This is Maibara. Is there any chance Rena-san is around?
レイナは風呂に入っていますが。出たかな。
Rena's taking a bath. Oh, she's done?
レイナ、
Rena,
友達から電話だぞ。
there's a friend of yours on the phone. Oh, right. Rena Ryugu was her real name, wasn't it? I'd gotten so used to calling her Rena that hearing her real name caught me a little off guard.
もしもし、
Hello?
お電話変わりました。
This is Rena.
俺だよ。刑事だ。
It's me, Keiichi.
夜遅くにすまん。
Sorry for calling so late.
あれ、
Huh?
ケイチくん、
Keiichi-kun?
こんな時間に何かな。
What do you need at a time like this?
実はリカちゃんの家がどこにあるのか知りたいんだ。
Well, actually, I wanted to know where Rika-chan's house is. Rena seemed a little appalled that I'd call her for something like this at this hour. However, she spoke her next words seriously, as if she caught on to how urgent my need was.
うん、
Okay,
いいよ。
sure.
フルデ神社の境内に集会所があるよね。
You know the assembly hall in the grounds of the Furude Shrine?
その裏手に2階建ての倉庫小屋があるのを知ってるかな。
There's a two-story shack used for storage behind it.
そこに住んでるんだよ。
That's where she lives. I couldn't immediately visualize the place, but as long as I knew she lived on the shrine grounds, I'd have to just take a look around.
わかった。
Got it.
ありがとう。
Thanks.
こんな遅くにすまなかったな。
Sorry again for calling so late.
親父さんに謝っといてくれ。
Apologize to your dad for me too, would you?
そんなのはいいよ、ケイチくん。
Okay, but Keiichi-kun,
それより、どうしてリカちゃんの家を聞くのかな。
why do you want to know where Rika-chan lives? Rena asked in an unusually sharp way, halting me before I could hang up the phone. I hesitated for a moment about whether to tell her. He was killed because I told him.
ケイチくん、
Keiichi-kun,
聞こえてるなら答えてほしいな。
you're still listening. Could you answer me?
どうしてリカちゃんの家の場所をこんな時間に聞きたいのかな。
Why are you asking where Rika-chan lives at a time like this? Rena affected her usual tone, but beneath her words lay a certain tension, like she'd intuitively sensed something was going on. What will you do, Keiichi? If it's Rena, can't I tell her? He was killed because he found out. It revealed everything, so he was killed.
ケイチくん、
Keiichi-kun!
レナは真剣に聞いてるんだけどな。
Rena's being serious.
答えてほしいよ。
Please answer me. Rena asked me once again in a tone so forceful I couldn't imagine her ever using it normally. I was taken aback by her vigor. Rena was Rika-chan's friend too. She had the right to be concerned about Rika-chan disappearing. If I told Rena, then... even if only for a moment, I could drive away my horrifying fears.
レナ、理由を聞かれると困るんだが。
Rena, well... can't exactly tell you why, but...
Mm.
yes? Rena's tone was seriousness itself. Just from that tone, I could feel her saying, "No matter what you say, Kichi-kun, I'll believe you." The subtle sense of security gave me the courage to reveal the truth.
リカちゃんが危ない気がするんだ。
I have a feeling that Rika-chan is in danger.
それは虫の知らせかな。
You mean like a
そ
premonition?
れともリカちゃんに危険が迫っている何か確信がある？
Or do you have some reason to believe she's in danger? I really didn't have time to go back and forth with Rena about this. Still, I think listening to her calm voice soothed my pointless impatience.
確信はないけど。
I don't have much reason, but... yet I still hesitated. I told Rika-chan that we had snuck into the ritual storehouse. The mayor, to whom Shion had confessed before that, had already disappeared. So, it was possible that Rika-chan also... I didn't know how to explain it to Rena. While I was tongue-tied, Rena spoke up.
変なこと聞いてごめんね。
Sorry for asking something so
考
weird.
えたら確信なんか必要なかった。
I thought about it, and it isn't like you need to be sure. Rena laughed a little, seeming a bit absent-minded. I wasn't exactly in the mood to laugh, so this time I was dumbfounded. Rena continued in a cheerful yet still purposeful voice.
友達のことが心配になって、
You're worried about a friend.
それを確かめるのに理由なんかいらないと思う。
I don't think you need a reason to go and check on them.
仮にリカちゃんが寝てて、それを起こしてしまったとしても、それが理由なら私たちは誰も怒らないと思うよ。
Even if Rika-chan was asleep and you ended up waking her, if that was why you did it, then none of us would get mad. Rena, thank you.
じゃあまずはケイチ君に確認するね。
Okay then, Keiichi-kun, just one thing.
リカちゃんの家に電話はしたんだよね。
You called Rika-chan's house, right?
それでどうしても繋がらないから家の場所を聞いてきたんだね。
And you just couldn't get through, so that's why you asked me where her house is?
ああ、
Yeah, that's right.
10分以上は鳴らし続けたと思う。
I must have called her for over 10 minutes.
ひょっとしたら気づかなくて寝てるだけなのかも。
She could just be sleeping and not have
リ
noticed.
カちゃんの家はとても狭いの。
Rika-chan's house is really small.
だから電話が鳴ったらたとえ寝ていても気づかないわけはないよ。
You would definitely hear the phone ringing even if she was asleep. Have you been lately? I've been
二人揃って
chillin'.
気づかないわけはない。
I've been playing Ace Attorney. Tadaka-chan is there too, so there's no way either of them would notice. No way neither of them would notice. Huh?
サトコってリカちゃんと一緒に住んでるのか？
Satoko. You mean she's living with Rika-chan?
うん、
Yeah.
知らなかったの？
You didn't know?
今はその話は後ね。
Well, we can talk about that later.
とにかく電話をそれだけ鳴らして誰も出ないのは絶対におかしいよ。
Anyway, if you called that much and no one answered, then something's definitely wrong. Ren understood that the situation wasn't normal far faster than I could have ever imagined her to. It made her seem dependable. However, the fact that Rena had acknowledged this also meant that the best case possibility of it all just being the result of my own needless fears went out the window.
私も今からすぐにリカちゃんの家に行くね。
I'll go to Rika-chan's house right now.
一緒に行く？
Will you come with me?
なら迎えに行くよ。
I can show you the way.
わかった。
Sounds good.
じゃあいつもの待ち合わせ場所で合流しよ
Let's meet up at the same place as usual.
う。待ってるぞ。
I'll be waiting for you.
ううん。
No, wait.
私、ケイチ君の家に迎えに行くから。
I'll come get you at your
だ
house.
からお家で待ってていいよ。
You just wait
だ
there.
からご家族に私と一緒にリカちゃんの家に行ってくるって伝えておいてね。
And tell your family you're coming with me to Rika-chan's house, okay?
うちでいいのか？
Will that be okay?
時間のロスのような。
We might lose time if you come here.
あと、みーちゃんには電話した？
Did you call Michan too?
みーちゃんはこういう時すごく頼もしいの。
She's really dependable at times like these.
まだなら私から電話しておくね。
If you haven't, then I'll give her a call. My thoughts froze for a moment. Shiona just told me to be careful around Mion during our phone conversations a little while ago. If the Sonozaki main house was somehow lurking behind the surface of the annual freak deaths, then the current heir to the family, Mion, wouldn't be uninvolved. So, wouldn't that mean she wasn't uninvolved in what happened this year to Takano-san and Tomitake-san? And also the mayor's disappearance?
じゃあね。
Okay, bye.
すぐに行くからね。
I'll be right over.
待っててね。
Wait for me. That's all Rena said before hurriedly hanging up. Now wasn't the time to be doubting Mion. I needed to make sure Rika-chan was safe. I got changed and grabbed the keys to my bike. I figured things would go more smoothly if we met up in the place we usually do before school. Rena wouldn't need to come all the way to my house. My parents would probably have objected if I told them I was leaving, so I creeped out without a word. The night was unusually warm and disagreeably humid. She said that Rika-chan and Satoko lived together, right? And it wasn't only Rika-chan. Satoko wasn't there either? I swear to God. Realizing what them living together really meant caused my thoughts to immediately take a turn for the worse. It can't be. Satoko is... She's got nothing to do with any of this. Even if there were a reason for Rika-chan to disappear, there shouldn't be one for Satoko. Keiichi-kun! Rena was really fast. She approached me on her bike at an amazing speed. Her breath was ragged, painting a clear picture of just how hurriedly she'd been going.
Oh, Rena.
Hey, Rena!
さあ、行こうぜ。
Let's get going!
ケイチ君、
Keiichi-kun,
私、お家で待っててって言ったはずだよ。
I thought I told you to wait at your house. Rena's expression was all business. Was she mad? Came out of the blue and I faltered for a moment.
いや、ここで合流した方が早く出発できると思ってさ。
Remember last stream when you said they hadn't got Satoko yet? You and your damn mouth. Look, I reasonably believed that, like, well, there's no reason for her to get snatched up and fucking disappear. So, like, it's all good. It's not all good. It's not all good. This is a long-ass game. What part is it now? I'm in chapter 2 of 8 still, so... Well, I just figured it'd be faster to meet up here. Oh, I clicked the wrong thing.
ケイチ君は本当に分かってるの？
Keiichi-kun, don't you get it? Rena shouted, clearly angry. Now's not the time for this! We gotta go! I'd never seen Rena like this before.
分かってるのかって何がだよ。
Do I get it? What's the problem? Rena seemed to notice she was scaring me, took a couple of deep breaths, then continued as if admonishing me, but... her expression didn't soften at all.
ケイチ君、
Keiichi-kun,
昨日村長さんがいなくなって村中で大騒ぎになったよね。
the whole village is in uproar now that the elder disappeared, right?
ああ、
Yeah?
そんな中で、ケイチ君はリカちゃんとサトコちゃんがいなくなったって言ってるんだよ。
Now you're telling me that Rika-chan and Satoko-chan aren't where they're supposed to be, right?
ああ、
Yeah?
そういうことになるな。
That about sums it up?
じゃあ、もっと用心しなくちゃダメだよ。
You need to be more careful.
こんな夜中にたった一人でこんなところで突っ立ってるなんて不用心にも程があるんだから。
Do you have any idea how dangerous it is to be standing out here alone in the middle of the night? I began to understand where Rena's anger was coming from.
ご家族にはちゃんと私とリカちゃんの家に行くって伝えたよね。
You told your family you'd be going to Rika-chan's house with me, didn't you?
万が一、
So in the worst case scenario,
私とケイチ君が揃って失踪しちゃうようなことがあっても、いつどの辺でいなくなったのかを残すことができる。
if you and I were to disappear, people would know when and where we did. Rena was perfectly level-headed in this emergency situation. Ever since the night of the Watanagashi, every night someone had died or disappeared. On the night itself, Takano-san and Tomitake-san met strange ends. On the next night, the elder vanished. Now, on the next night after that, Rika-chan and Satoko were nowhere to be found. I hadn't been thinking of anyone but myself, but it wasn't enough to say that Himizawa was a little weird at the moment. It was, in fact, extremely strange. Ren had even anticipated her own disappearances and had told me to tell my family where I was going. I was embarrassed at my own carelessness, and the need to be embarrassed made me afraid of the night.
ごめん、
Sorry,
まだ言ってなかった。
I didn't tell them yet. Okay,
じゃあ一緒に言いに行こう。
let's go tell them together. No, we're taking so much time! We're taking forever! With Rena beside me, I wheeled back towards my house. Oh, we're taking so long! We have to wheel it back to my house to tell my parents? Oh! The moon seemed strangely high in the sky. The sky that was usually vast and cold. But no matter what, it would never seem to me like a dream. This cruel fact had already confronted me. On such a crazy night, Ren had been unimaginably dependable. Inamizawa's metamorphosis, enough to make Rena caution me against carelessness, was to me the most fearsome thing of all. I'm gonna want this moon CG for the thumbnail. The moon seemed strangely high in the sky. We met up with Mion on the way, and she, of course, was unsure whether to believe me about Rika-chan and Satoko's disappearance.
ケイちゃん、本気で言ってんの？
Hey-chan, are you serious?
もし冗談だったらかなり怒るよ。
I'm gonna get really mad if this is a joke. Mion was clearly displeased. If this were a joke, it wasn't very funny. I understood how indiscreet my words were. Ever since the day before yesterday, someone had either died or vanished every night. Rika-chan and Satoko disappearing after all that was something you just couldn't say, even in jest.
みーちゃん、
Mi-chan,
本当に冗談だったなら怒るんじゃなく笑おうよ。
if it really is a joke, don't get mad, smile.
だって冗談なんだから。
It would be a joke after all.
私たちはそれが冗談であることを確かめなくちゃいけない。
We need to go make sure whether it's a joke or not.
そうだね。
You're right.
機嫌の悪そうなことを言ってごめん。
Sorry for getting upset. However indiscreet a joke it may have been, and if we learned that our friends were safe, it would end up as nothing more than a funny story. Having been warned about that by Rena, Mion gave a dry smile, tension she felt loosening a bit. She mounted her bicycle as well. Our three bicycles' lights flashed down the pitch-black roads. They were some of the only illumination outside.
ケイちゃんはなぜ急にこんな時間にリカちゃんの家に電話なんかする気になったわけ？
It-chan, why'd you suddenly decide to call and ask about Rika-chan's house at a time like this? Mion asked me the same thing that I had trouble explaining to Rena.
虫が知らせた。じゃあ、おかしいか。
Would it be weird to call it a premonition? I couldn't quite tell because it was dark, but I thought I could see Mion smiling very ambiguously. I definitely understood that she wasn't convinced, though, despite the darkness.
俺さ、うたた寝してる時に悪い夢を見ると、どうしても気になっちゃうんだよ。
Well, I had this bad dream while I was snoozing. I couldn't get it out of my head.
ケイチ君はそれでリカちゃんがさらわれる夢を見たわけかな。
So, did Rika-chan get kidnapped in the dream?
いや、その、
Well,
もっと漠然とした予感みたいなものだよ。
it was more of a vague feeling sort of thing.
リカちゃんが電話に出てくれたなら、レナやミオにも続けて電話するつもりだったよ。
If Rika-chan had answered the phone, I would have called you and Rena after that. Lies smoothly babbled out of my mouth, makeshift though they were. I was lying because I thought telling them I was connected to Shion would be like silently admitting we'd stolen into the ritual storehouse together that night. Mion didn't press me any further. I don't know whether that convinced her. Maybe she figured that making sure Rika-chan and Satsuko were safe would be faster than making an issue out of it. I felt relieved and immediately a little guilty. Mion hadn't really been acting any differently these last few days. But I'm still trying to distance myself from her for some reason. It was only because of what I heard from Shion and Uishi-san. She was the successor to some kind of super extravagant gang family. No. I was just trying to force myself to forget. Don't do that, Keiichi Maibara. Wasn't it Mion who was the first to ask about the night of Watanagashi? Such a harsh tone at that. Have I already forgotten the terror I felt? At the time, Mion looked like someone different from the Mion I knew. When I think about that Mion, a bit more sense. That's it, isn't it? If it wasn't for how she acted that day, then I wouldn't be feeling this way towards her now. On Earth, what's going on with her back then? I was conveniently thinking only of everything she had done after that. Well, disregarding the very first thing. The thing I should have been looking at most, wasn't I? Mion was pedaling her bicycle in front of me, her long hair fluttering in the wind. No matter how long I looked at her back, it never gave me answers to any of my questions. We went all the way to the stone steps leading up to the shrine grounds. Of course, we weren't going to want to haul our bikes up there, so we parked them beside the staircase instead. So this is the Furude Shrine.
みんな公園みたいな感覚で勝手に出入りしてるけど、本当はここは古出家の立派な私有地なんだよ。
Everybody comes and goes as they please, as if it were a park, but this place is actually a grand estate owned by the Furude family. So the entire shrine is private property. Really makes you feel the passage of time. 10 or 20 years ago it would have looked the exact same.
だとすると、古出家って結構な旧家なんじゃないのか?
Then wouldn't that mean the Furude family is really old?
代々続いた由緒ある。
With the history going back for generations?
うん。
We should not be having this conversation. We should be running up these steps. Yeah.
ない。
They're gone.
おかしいよ。
That's odd. Rena said something clearly disquieting, so I ran over to her.
どうしたレナ?
What's wrong, Rena?
リカちゃんとサトコちゃんはいつもここに自転車を止めてるはずなの。
Rika-chan and Satoko-chan always leave their bicycles here.
ほら、
See?
どこにもない。
They're gone. Oh. I took a look around. Indeed, there were no other bicycles aside from the ones we'd taken to get here.
他の場所に止めてる可能性もある
Thanks,
じゃな
man.
い。
Couldn't they have parked them somewhere else?
例えば、担いで石段を上がったとか。
They've brought them up the stairs?
女の子には無理だよ、ケイチ君。
Those girls couldn't do that, Keiichi-kun. Just as she said, I couldn't imagine Rika-chan and Satoko lugging their bikes all the way up there. We hadn't yet knocked on Rika-chan's door, but reality was already sparking some ideas that weren't what you'd call good. Maybe they were just parked under some trees and we hadn't noticed them. I refused to believe that not being able to find their bikes here was proof that they'd disappeared.
行こうぜ。
Let's go.
家に行った方がはるかに確実だろう。
The only way to be sure is to check their house. We all nodded and dashed up the stone steps. We passed through the red arch and came out onto the shrine grounds, which was covered in neat gravel. So quiet here, as though the Watanagashi festival had never happened.
で、リカちゃんたちが住んでいる家ってのはどこにあるんだ?
So where's the house they live in?
こっち、
Over here.
ついてきて。
Come with me. Rena took the lead and sprinted off. We went towards the assembly hall behind the shrine, then looped around behind it. In the darkness of the night, we found a small, prefab two-story shack that looked like a warehouse.
明かり消えてるね。
Lights are off.
寝てるんじゃない？
Are they sleeping?
ノックしてみよう。
Let's knock. Rena and Mion neared the shack, which didn't really look like a place people would live. They had such a beautiful shrine, so I figured they live in an equally beautiful house. It was far from what I had expected. Rika-chan! Satoko-chan! Are you there? Rena shouted up towards the second floor. Her voice was restrained at first, but it steadily grew louder. No answer. Satoko and Rika living in a shack by themselves in the woods is such Hobbit vibes. It's awesome they live in this fucking shack. In fact, there wasn't any sort of activity in the house at all.
寝てるのかもしれない。
They might be sleeping.
起こしてみよ
Let's wake them up. Mion banged on the shutter with both hands, and the loud sounds echoed into our surroundings. They would have to notice this much noise. They would turn on the light in their room, fling open the windows, and yell, "What time do you think it is?" That, however, wasn't happening. There was absolutely no response. Mion stopped slamming her fist on the shutter, and a sudden silence fell over us. The silence aroused terrible thoughts in us. I could feel the blood draining from my face.
う。鍵かかってる。
It's locked.
どこかから中に入れないかな。
I wonder if we can get into somehow. Rena showed no signs of stopping. Didn't look like she would admit that they weren't there until we went inside and saw for ourselves. That refusal to give in gave me strength.
2階の窓とか鍵をかけ忘れてないかな。
Second story windows wouldn't be locked.
俺ちょっと試してみる。
I'll give them a try.
う。ケイちゃん、はしご。
Kitchen, a ladder. Mion brought over a ladder that was standing against the house. The footing was a little unstable for me to be climbing it, but Mion held the ladder firmly in place for me. I hadn't climbed too many ladders. My inexperience with them exposed, I climbed up one step at a time and tried to open each window on the second floor.
みーちゃん、私念のため本宅の方も見てくるね。
Mei-chan, I'm gonna go check the main house just to be sure, okay?
すぐ戻るから。
I'll be right back. Rena darted away. What? The main house?
フルデ家の本当の家だよ。
It's the Fruited family's actual house.
両親が亡くなって以来、ずっと放置してあるそうだけど。
After her parents passed away, I think it's been left like that.
あ、そうか。
Right.
リカちゃんのご両親って亡くなってるんだよな。
Rika-chan's parents passed away, huh? At that point, I recalled something else. Wasn't Satoko living here too?
サトコも親なしだよ。
Satoko's also an orphan.
親代様のたたりってことで、両親が崖から落っこちてね。
Parents fell from a cliff because of Oyashiro-sama's curse.
お兄さんだったサトシ君もいなくなっちゃって。
Then her older brother, Satoshi-kun, he disappeared.
サトシって前に聞いた名前だな。
Satoshi. Heard that name before. I remembered. He was the one who disappeared last year because of the curse.
それ以来、サトコはリカちゃんと一緒にこの小屋で暮らしてるんだよ。
Ever since then, Satoko and Rika-chan have been living in the shack.
互いに身寄りのない一人ぼっち同士。
Neither of them has any family, but at least they're together.
助け合ってね。
They help each other out.
本宅って言ったか？
Rena said main house, didn't she?
そっちで暮らした方が楽だろうに。
Wouldn't it be easier to live there? The curtains were drawn, so I couldn't get a good look inside to see, but... Two young girls living together seemed like a pretty tough life.
初めはそうしてたみたい。
I think she tried that at first.
でも、両親を思い出すから辛いって言って。
She said it was hard, though, because it reminded her of her parents. I had no idea. I feel really bad for them. They were normally so cheerful at school that I never even realized an atom of this.
リカちゃんもサトコも大変なんだな。
Rika-chan and Satoko-chan. They have it hard, huh?
呪われてるんだよ。
She's cursed.
Eh?
Huh? Suddenly, Mion said something in such a low voice that it sounded like she was really cursing someone, and I didn't let it slide. Oh no! Oh no! I turned around on the ladder to face her and asked
ミ
again.
オ、お前、今、なんて言った？
Mion, what did you just say?
呪われてるって言ったの。
I said she's cursed. Mion, still holding onto the ladder, brought her head up to look me in the eyes. As soon as our eyes met, an absolute zero jolt of electricity surged through my body. Oh no! Mion's eyes clouded over, and within them boiled and bubbled a stew of chaos. They whirled around and around like a raging sea, and bubbles floated to the surface. I had at some point been trapped on this ladder, being cornered on a dead-end street.
ミオン、お前、なんて顔してんだよ。
Mion, you... Why are you making that face? I intended to follow that up with "you're going too far with this joke" and give her a forced smile. However, on such uneven footing as I was, the only thing that came out of my mouth was a hoarse groan as I desperately struggled to not let nausea overwhelm me.
北条聡子はね、
Satoko Hojo.
お社様のたたりを一身に受けた呪われた子なの。
She's been cursed by Oyashiro-sama. Mion answers with a response to something I never asked, as if replying to somebody else's question.
公園の展望台から転落死したのは両親だけ。
The only people who fell from the park observation platform were her parents.
あの子をミソッカス扱いしてた冷たい両親だけが死んで、あの子は一人だけ助かった。
Only her parent, who treated her like dirt, died that day. She was the only one to survive.
一人先であの子をいじめたおばは、綿流しの夜に異常者に脳みそがぐっちゃぐちゃに飛び散って頭が原型をとどめないくらいにめった打ちにされて殺された。
Then she was sent to live with her aunt, who treated her cruelly, and the aunt was killed on the night of Watanagashi by some deviant. Beat her to death so violently her brains were everywhere and her head an entirely different shape by the end of it.
いつもあの子をかばってたサトシ君も
Then Satoshi-kun, who always protected her,
あの子の誕生日に突然消えてしまった。
suddenly disappeared on her birthday.
あの子をいじめていなかったのに消されてしまった。
Someone made him disappear even though he wasn't abusing her.
警察は家出したんだって決めつけたけど、サトシ君は逃げ出すような人じゃなかった。
The police judged him to have run away from home. Satoshi-kun wasn't the kind of person who would do that.
いつも一生懸命、
He was always earnest.
誰の力も借りずにコツコツと一人懸命に努力する人だった。
He would never ask for anyone else's help. He would always drag himself through everything with hard work alone.
たった一人の妹のために身を粉にして頑張ってたのに消されてしまった。
He worked so hard he nearly ground his bones into dust, all for his one and only little sister. And yet someone made him disappear.
あの子のためにだけに生きていたのに消されてしまった。
She was the only thing he lived for, and yet someone made him disappear.
かわいそうなサトシ君。
Poor, poor Satoshi-kun.
なんて報われないサトシ君。
He was never rewarded, that Satoshi-kun.
なんて恩知らずなあの子なの。
How ungrateful that child is.
あの子は呪われた子。
She's cursed.
あの子に近づけば、それが誰でも末路は同じ。
All who get near her suffer the same fate.
たたりで死ぬか、たたりで消えるか。
The curse kills them, or the curse makes them disappear.
あの子に安らぎなんてあるものか。あの子に安らぎなんてあるものか。
She cannot have any relief. She cannot have any relief.
リカちゃんが消えたのもきっとサトコのせいだよ。違いない、違いない、違いない、違いない、違いない、違いない、違いない、違いない、違いない、違いない、違いない、違いない、違いない、違いない、違いない、違いない、違いない、違いない、違いない、違いない、違いない、違いない、違いない、違いない、違いない、違いない、違いない、違いない、違いない、違いない、違いない、違いない、違いない、違いない、違いない、違いない、違いない、違いない、違いない、違いない、違いない、違いない、違いない、違いない、違いない、違いない、違いない、違いない、違いない、違いない、違いない、違いない、違いない、違いない、違いない、違いない、違いない、違いない、違いない、違いない、違いない、違いない、違いない、違いない、違いない、違いない、違いない、違いない、違いない、違いない、違いない、違いない、違いない、違いない、違いない、違いない、違いない、違いない、違いない、違いない、違いない、違いない、違いない、違いない、違いない、違いない、違いない、違いない、違いない、違いない、違いない、違いない、違いない、違いない、違いない、違いない、違いない、違いない、違いない、違いない、
that Rika-chan disappeared too. It has to be, 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 it has to. Mion was mumbling words over and over that were no longer coherent. Her shoulders were trembling so hard that I could feel it through the ladder. I'm starting to slightly dislike Mion. You missed out on chapter 1, is all I'm gonna say. I almost lost my footing, which made me realize just how far away the ground really was. Calm down, Mion. I don't know what you're talking about. I wasn't sure if she even heard me. Mion rocked back and forth, and that rocking and trembling was becoming even more violent. Help me. Ladder, it's falling. Help me. Help! Just then, I heard the sound of many people running towards us. Oh, hey! Over here! I very nearly said help me outright. 4 or 5 adults led by Rena ran over here with flashlights.
ケイチ君、みーちゃん、遅れてごめんね。
Kichi-kun, Michan, sorry it took so long.
鍵、借りてきたよ。
I borrowed the key.
助かったね。
Oh, nice one.
どうも窓も戸締まりは完璧らしくてね。
Seems all the windows and doors are perfectly sealed.
困ってた。
I was getting worried. When I heard Mion talking like nothing had just happened, I again felt a chill run through me. The person currently holding the ladder in place was definitely Mion. It was the real Mion Sonozaki. Then, the person muttering to themselves just a few seconds ago. Who was that? The person who was mumbling about terrible things like curses. Who was that? Second time. The adults tried a few different keys on a keyring as they tried to open the big shutter on the first floor.
リカちゃんの家はね、もともとは町会の防災倉庫だったの。
Rika-chan's house used to be a disaster shelter for the town council,
だからシャッターの鍵を今でも村長さんの家が預かってるの。
so the key to the shutter is still kept in the mayor's house.
今ではリカちゃんとサトコの指定だけど、
It's Rika-chan and Sadako's private residence now, though. Why aren't these kids living with adults?
まあ
Surely you can put him with
リカちゃん
someone.
の家の敷地内だし、
Well, this is on Rika-chan's property anyway.
誰も文句は言わないけどね。
Nobody complains about it. Mion gave me a smile as she said that. I, however, could only return her gaze with an aghast expression. Mion was acting all too normal now, but that only contrasted all the more sharply with her earlier un-Mion-like creepiness. But it's funny that they live alone? It is funny, but not funny anymore. Shutter opened up for the first time in a very long while. Rena located the light switch and wasted no time going inside. I followed her in.
リカちゃん、
Rika-chan!
サトコちゃん、
Sadako-chan!
いるなら返事をして。
If you hear her say something! We climbed a narrow staircase. It looked like nothing more than a warehouse, but now that I was inside, I could feel how lived in it was. It was a person's home. Somehow, the scent of the two of them filled the place. This was definitely where Rika-chan and Satoko lived. Well, this ain't too bad. The first floor doubled as a town assembly warehouse, but the second floor was a space entirely for living. Just like a one-room apartment, past the kitchen was a living room taking up about 150 square feet. Dressers, cupboards, and the like were packed into the space, and in the corner there was a huge pile of clothes that appeared to have just been taken in from drying outside. In the center of the living room was a fold-up table, and on it were small containers of things like soy sauce and salad dressing. The sense of a frugal lifestyle drifted from all of it. No, where do they... How do they fund themselves? It was strange that they weren't here in the middle of the night like this. The adults, climbing the stairs one at a time, began to make a fuss and talk amongst themselves.
どう？
So?
やっぱりいない？
Not here?
うん、
Yeah,
いない。
they're not here.
絶対おかしい。
This is definitely weird. The village had just been thrown into chaos yesterday because of the mayor's disappearance. And today, even Rika-chan and Satoko had. Were they all playing somewhere together? That can't be. The bicycles aren't here, though. Where would they have gone so late at night? Have they just not come back yet? Where did they go? The adults put forth various possibilities, and the house immediately devolved into a state of confusion. Eventually, Mion settled them down.
信じたくないけど、君吉の村長さんが消えたのが昨日の今日。
I don't want to believe it, but the mayor, Kimiyoshi, disappeared yesterday.
無関係とは言い切れないね。
We can't say that this is unrelated. The adults' faces paled at Mion's declaration. Mine and Rena's did as well.
例えば、ご近所に行ってお茶でもごちそうになって眠っちゃって、
Let's see. You could have gone nearby for some tea or something and accidentally fallen
起
asleep.
こすに起こせなくなってるなんて可能性ももちろんあるよね。
Whoever invited them might just not be able to wake them up at all, too.
その可能性をまず潰そう。
Let's eliminate that possibility first.
牧野さんは裏手から沢のあたりの家を回ってください。
Nakano-san, please go around to the houses near the stream.
慶太郎さんはおじゃが池の方。
Keitaro-san, go look near Ojaga Lake.
岡村さんは
Okamura-san, you... Mion promptly gave directions to the villagers. The adults followed them without hesitation, despite her age.
私はここに残って電話で片っ端から心当たりに問い合わせてみます。
We'll remain here and call up anyone we can think of on the phone.
じゃあ皆さん、そういうことで。
Okay, everyone, you have your orders. Got it. The adults all roared in reply and pounded back down the stairs below.
さすがみーちゃんだね。
Wow,
み
Mi-chan.
ーちゃんは学校だけじゃなく、ひなみ沢の委員長さんみたいだよね。
Not only chairperson of the school, but Hinamizawa too.
茶化さない茶化さない。
No time for jokes.
ほらどいて。
Hey, step aside.
おじさんは電話を使うんだから。
This old man is using the phone. Mion grinned proudly, took the receiver, and got started. Rena gave Mion a trusting look, considering her dependable for doing all of this. My feelings, though, were a little more complicated, since her leadership seemed to be affirming the Sonozaki family successor impression that Shion and Uishi-san had given me. Stop right there, Keiichi Mabara. None of that matters right now. Most important thing is to make sure Rika-chan and Satoko are safe. Let's see. Could there be a clue hinting at where they might have gone somewhere in this room?
とはいえ、そんなのわかるはずもないよな。
Still, though, I wouldn't know what to look for anyway. If we tore the whole place apart and figured out what was different from before, we might be able to speculate, but... There's nothing strange about this room, and there are no clues in sight. In the first place, I'd never even been here before. There's no way for me to know what was different if I didn't know how the room usually looked. Hey, don't give up, Keiichi Maibara. Stop thinking and start looking. For something. In search of something, I tried pulling open the dresser drawers and opened the windows. I didn't uncover anything meaningful, though. Rena, also unable to stand around doing nothing, was looking around the room like I was.
でもレナ、
Rena,
冷蔵庫や流しの下の棚とかを開いても、リカちゃんは見つからないと思うぞ。
I don't think you'll find Rika-chan by opening the refrigerator or the cabinet underneath the sink.
隠れてるかなって思って。
I just thought they might be hiding.
は、
Now is not the time for that. As we were searching, it got noisy outside. Villagers were quickly assembling here, having heard the commotion. Of course, a lot of them were probably people Mion had called.
私、みんなに話をしてくる。
I'll go tell everyone what's going on.
遅かれ、警察も来るだろうしね。
The police will be here sooner or later, too.
大石のやつにも事情を説明しなきゃ。
We need to explain the situation to Uishi. Mion began descending the stairs, and we followed her out to the front of the house. There were already around 10 adults there, and all of them looked uneasy. I suddenly noticed that the old people from the shrine were here as well, and they were praying for Rika-chan's safety, rubbing their prayer beads. This had gotten bad. This wasn't just a problem between friends anymore.
ミオンちゃん、リカちゃんとサトコちゃんがいなくなったってのは本当かい？
Mion-chan, is it true that Rika-chan and Satoko-chan aren't anywhere to be found? The villagers all formed a ring around Mion, swarming her. Mion raised her right hand as if silently telling them to calm down.
誰かの家にお邪魔していないか、町会の回覧区分に沿って全校をまず調べよ
First, let's check every house according to the town council's notification division and see if they're visiting anyone.
う。本人たちがこっちの気も知らずに、誰かの家で。
I will not make Rena's funny noises. You can't make me. It's not gonna happen. After all, they could be fast asleep at someone's house and totally unaware that we're looking for them. It would definitely be hard for someone to wake up Rika-chan if she had eaten a good full meal and fallen asleep like a kitten afterwards. Oh, how nice it would be if that were the case.
こんなことは考えたくないけど、もちろん悪いことが起こった可能性もある。
I don't want to think about this, but it's also possible something bad has happened. Mion's face grew remarkably more grim, and a wave of silence washed over the adults.
我々も手分けしよ
We should divide up the work, too.
う。昨夜の村長探しで回ったところをもう一度回る。
We'll go around all the places we went last night while looking for the mayor.
俺たちはダム現場をよく念入りに探してみる。
We'll go look around the dam construction site as best we can.
お前さんたちは学校のあたりを探してみてくれ。
You guys go search around the school.
どう
Right.
したらはよ回らんと
Let's get a move on.
行こう行こ
Come on, please. I don't even know how to make the noises she makes. They're ridiculous. Like, I don't know how to make those noises. If you did the funny noises, I'm not gonna. Let's gotta move on. Come on, let's go.
みんな昨日も村長さん探しで徹夜だったからね。
I'm sure in my streaming career, there's already plenty of voice clips of me making weird noises. I don't need to add to the tally. All of you were up all night looking for the mayor.
寝不足で辛いだろうけど、どうかよろしく。
I know you're all low on sleep, but please, do your best. Got it. With that as their signal, the adults scattered in every direction. I figured I should scatter somewhere as well, so I started walking unsteadily in a direction no one else had gone in. I was getting farther and farther from people. Didn't feel scared or anything, though. If someone were made to disappear, Shion and I would be first. Should be first. It would have been perfectly normal for me to be scared of the dark. However, I didn't feel that way. Why was that? It was because tonight, someone had already disappeared. So nobody else would disappear tonight. It would take some time before I, exhausted as I was, would feel guilt at the cause of my own selfish sense of relief. This sucks. This sucks. This sucks. This sucks. Suddenly, my vision cleared and a cold wind caressed my body. This was the hill from which you could see the whole village. Looking down from this hill, I could see lights on here and there. I knew that the entire village had awoken from its slumber. First Takano-san and Togatake-san, then the mayor, and now even Rika-chan and Satoko had been sacrificed, and word of it was spreading everywhere. The strength of my knees left me. This could no longer be a joke. We could have found them. Man would have told me I was a warrior. Rena would just be glad we did. And they would have smiled at me. My hopes disappeared as if I were awakening from a dream. That was what the view I could see was telling me. Following my knees, my arms both bent forward onto the ground, and I clawed at it with my nails. I couldn't figure out if I was feeling sorrow or frustration. Is this my fault? I couldn't endure the burden of my own sin. I just told Rika-chan about it. I had nothing to do with it, but Rika-chan and even Satoko had been sacrificed. It was like a cross that Shion and I would each have to bear the weight of until we ourselves were erased. Well, from going that far, then the problem started long before that. My original sin of breaking taboo and entering the ritual storehouse without asking. I knew I shouldn't have gone in there from the start. Yet I lost out to cheap curiosity. I hadn't felt so angry at myself until this very moment. There was a crunching sound. I wasn't even interested in who made the noise, despondent as I was. Keiichi-kun? Keiichi-kun! You okay? It was Rena. Perhaps my clawing at the ground made it look as though I was having stomach pains. She ran over and rubbed my back to make me feel better.
悪いんだ。
This is all my fault.
俺のせいで。
It's because of me.
俺のせいで。
It's my fault.
ケイチ君が
Ichikun's fault?
何も悪いわけはないよ。
You didn't do anything wrong.
自分をどうか責めないでね。
Please don't blame yourself for this. I could tell Rena was doing her best to choose the right words out of consideration for me. That's why I could sense her intent behind those words. Keiichi-kun, you know why Rika-chan and Sadako-chan disappeared, don't you? Is what she really meant to say. Because there was an emergency, Rena had ignored the reason why I wanted to make sure Rika-chan was safe, but now that we'd actually confirmed her disappearance, it was only natural Rena would start to wonder about why. However, with the situation having gone this far, I couldn't possibly tell her now. I didn't want to admit that Rika-chan and Satoko had disappeared. I couldn't let Rena disappear either.
ケイチ君、
Keiichi-kun,
こんな風通しのいいところにずっといたら風邪ひいちゃう。
stay out here in the wind, you'll catch a cold. Rena sat down, bringing her eyes level with mine.
子供たちはね、もう解散して家で寝ろって。
They told us the children should go back home to sleep. Rena showed me her watch as she said that. It was long past 1 in the morning. Time was passing too quickly. Had I been crawling around here for that long?
もう寝ないと明日の学校に差し支えるよ。
If we don't sleep soon, we'll have trouble getting up for school tomorrow.
大人たちだって昨べも一晩中村長さんを探したからみんなクタクタ。
Even the adults are really worn out since they were up searching for the mayor last night too.
今夜は少し早めに解散するって。
They were saying they'd break up a little earlier tonight. I was a little upset that they weren't allotting as much time to this as they had to the search for the mayor last night. But that was something I, the cause of everything, had no right to criticize them for.
大丈夫。
Rena, back up. She's comforting us. It's alright.
さっきね、警察の人も来たの。
The police arrived a little while ago.
今どんどん街から応援のパトカーが来てるよ。
Look, there's police cars coming to the village right now. Hearing that remark, I looked down at the village to see that there were indeed more cars than one would normally expect at this hour, coming from the darkness on the other side of the mountain. However, none of their emergency lights were on. Of course, their sirens weren't wailing either. That's right. All of the incidents that occurred right after Watanagashi were seen as the product of Oyashiro-sama's curse and would be handled in secrecy. Rika-chan and Satoko too. Their disappearance would end up exactly like the other serial incidents in the past. Surreptitious... I don't know that word. Unresolved. Declared a mystery and disappear from memory. Rika-chan's face, sweet face like a western doll's, would fade away. Satoko's smile, her energetic fanged smile, would fade away. The more I try to remember them, the less I would be able to. I deserve to be called an idiot dozens of times over, and it wouldn't be enough. I couldn't hold back the tears of my own sheer stupidity.
ケイチ君が何を自分に責めているかわからないけれど、もうやめよう。
I don't know what you're blaming yourself for, Keiichi-kun, but you should stop. I wasn't about to deny it. Couldn't. Even so, I couldn't affirm it either. I wanted to at least keep Rena out of this. If she found out, she would become involved.
頼む、レナ。
Please, Rena,
放っておいてくれないか。
just leave me alone.
俺きっと家に帰ったって。
Even if I went home, I wouldn't be able to sleep. If I couldn't get to sleep, then I at least wanted to search for Rika-chan and Satoko until I collapsed. The entire village was looking, yet they still hadn't been found. I don't think I'd be able to find them if I went looking alone at this point. Still, I had to do it.
俺のせいで消えてしまったんだ。
They disappeared because of me.
他の探してくれてる人たちよりも先になんか。
Couldn't,
眠れるものか。
couldn't possibly go to sleep while other people are out there searching. I had said that to myself in self-deprecation, but I soon realized that Rena was silently trying to find the meaning in my mumblings. I realized I had misspoke.
ケイチ君のせいなの？
It's Keiichi-kun's fault?
どうしてそう思うのかな？かな？
Why do you think that? Why? Can't be. Keiichi-kun, you're not at fault. I was happy that Rena said these things to me, but she only did so because she didn't know the truth. If she knew that everything had been caused by my breaking taboo on the night of Watanagashi, then even Rena would curse my existence. However, I can't even allow for those curses. That would mean confessing my own crimes to Rena. If I spilled even one word of having snuck into the ritual storehouse on the night of Watanagashi, then even Rena could disappear tomorrow night. The gentle, spirited, always joking, always howling. At a time like this, the most dependable person in the world, Rena, might disappear. I don't want that. Anything but that. This time, I need to bear my own cross. Alone.
ケイチ君がとても仲間思いだって知ってるから。
Keiichi-kun, I know that you always have your friends in your heart.
自分を傷つけたくなる気持ちもよくわかるよ。
I can really understand feeling like you want to kick
だ
yourself.
けど、レナはケイチ君のせいじゃないって知ってる。
Rena knows, though, that it's not Keiichi-kun's fault.
ケイチ君が悪くないって知ってるから。
You didn't do anything wrong, Keiichi-kun, and I know that.
知ってるって。
You know that? The shivering in my veins rushed up my back and replaced a sorrow in my heart with fear. I didn't tell her anything, did I? Maybe I accidentally said something that caused Rena to figure it out? This is bad. Now Rena will disappear. Rena will disappear. Rena will disappear. Then Rena, the same way I always did, grabbed my head and began to pet it roughly.
ケイチ君、
Keiichi-kun,
ひょっとしてレナも消えちゃうかもしれないって思ってるのかな。
are you thinking that Rena might disappear now too?
お社様のたたりで。
Because of Oyashiro-sama's curse? She puts more force into the hand rubbing my head.
だったら安心して。
You don't need to worry about that.
レナは消えたりしないよ。
Rena isn't going
絶
anywhere.
対に。
I promise.
どうして消えないなんて自信を持って言えるんだよ。
Why? How can you say that with such confidence? I mean, someone's been sacrificed every night so far. There's no proof that it wouldn't happen again tomorrow night. There is even less proof, after all, that the sacrifice wouldn't be Rena. I don't care who you are. Just please, if you're going to erase someone, erase me first. Please, stop cruelly getting rid of people we're close to, like the mayor for Shion and Rika-chan and Sadako for me. Shion's hysterical shouting came back to my mind. He was planning to kill us last of all. They're not killing the first people who come to mind. They start by killing those we're close to, and after they've caused us so much pain, they'll kill us. That must be what they're doing.
レナ、
Rena. Please, don't disappear. Please don't. As long as I'm still here. I can no longer conceal the sobs welling up within me.
ほら、ケイチ君に涙なんか似合わないよ。
Every scene with Rena and Mian is so funny after chapter 1. Funny isn't the word I would use, but yeah. Come on, Keiichi-kun. Crying doesn't suit you.
みんなのところに行こう。
Let's go back to the others.
婦人会の人たちがね、お味噌汁の炊き出しをしてくれてるの。
The housewives are cooking some miso soup for us.
飲むと温まって落ち着くよ。
It'll warm you up and calm you down. Rena prompted me to stand. I didn't have the energy to oppose her, so I stood up. I stood as she urged me to. Don't forget what you did. Nope. Nope. It didn't happen. Nope. You return to the shrine grounds to find several gas stoves there with miso soup in big pots. Many villagers there sipped at the soup they were given in dead, stony silence. Their expressions were absolutely exhausted. Everyone had just been running around the village until a little while ago. From the dreary looks on their faces, though, I assumed they hadn't come up with anything yet.
ケイちゃん、どこ行ってたんだよ。
Hey-chan, where'd you go?
ケイちゃんまでいなくなったのかと心配したよ。
I was worried you disappeared too.
すまん。
Sorry. Mion held out some miso soup for me, but I refused the offer. I didn't have much of an appetite.
みーちゃん、
Mi-chan,
どう？
how is it?
何か手がかりはあった？
Did you find any clues? Mion took a sip of her soup, her expression frank.
全然ない。
None at all.
学校が終わってから家に帰って、
School ended and they went home.
二人で自転車に乗ってどこかに行ったらしい。
Then the two of them went somewhere on their
し
bicycles.
かも、二人が自転車に乗った姿は全く目撃されていないし。
Moreover, nobody ever saw them riding their bikes, so... When it gets dark out in Hinmizawa, people quickly vanish from the streets. Aside from adults hurrying back home from town in cars or on bicycles, it was normal to see absolutely nobody walking around outside. It wasn't at all strange that nobody had seen Rika-chan and Satoko riding their bikes.
昨日の村長の時と同じ。
It was the same last night with the mayor.
お手上げだよ。
There's no hope. Mion's apathetic tone pricked my nerves, but that anger quickly subsided. She had been doing all sorts of things to try and find Rika-chan until just a second ago. If I asked her, she'd probably say she was up all night last night too, looking for the mayor, wouldn't she? Just know the next tips are gonna say some BS. Say some BS as in, I shouldn't listen to it, or BS that's gonna piss me off. She must have been far more fatigued than I was. Besides, what about me? I had spent the time hunched over in indecision all alone. I had no right to say anything about Mion.
ケイちゃんも辛いだろうけど今夜はこれで休もう。
Kei-chan, I know it's hard, but let's turn in for the night.
さっき今夜は解散しようってなったところだよ。
We just decided we should break up the search for now.
これを飲んだらもう終わりにしよう。
Drink this and let's call it quits.
終わりなのか？
Is this the end?
もちろん終わりじゃないよ。
Oh no, of course not.
明るくなったら警察も増援を入れて徹底的に探すってさ。
Once it's bright out again, we'll do a thorough search with the police's help.
沖宮の方に行ってる可能性もあるからね。
They could have gone to Okinomiya too.
村長の件も含めて獅子骨市全体で目撃情報がないか洗うって言ってる。
People are even saying we should go through all of Shishibone City investigating whether there are any witnesses. Both the girls and the mayor.
それよりもケイちゃんだよ。
Anyway, what happened,
ど
Kei-chan?
こに行ってたんだい？
Where did you go off to?
いつの間にかいなくなっちゃうから心配したんだよ。
You vanished all of a sudden. I was really worried. Suddenly, I was on the receiving end, but I didn't have the willpower to respond.
すまん。気をつけるよ。
Sorry. I'll be more careful.
何もなかった。
Nothing happened?
怪しい人に監視されてるとか付け狙われてるとかそういうのはなかった？
There wasn't anyone suspicious spying on or stalking you, nothing like that? Mion demanded with a serious expression. I was being criticized for how inconsiderate I had been. Despite being in so much pain, I was frustrated that I was being criticized. It was my sin. My sin, and I must bear it alone.
何もないよ。
Nothing.
でも気をつける。
I'll be careful either way.
すまん。
Sorry. Mion, now aware that nothing had happened, heaved a big sigh with her shoulders, looking relieved.
おやおやおや。
Oh, my, my, my.
美味しい匂いが漂ってくると思ったら、
I knew I smelled something good coming from over here.
これはぜひご評判に預かりたいですね。
I'd be much obliged if you'd allow me to have some. We heard the repulsive voice of a fat man. Okay, she calm down. It was Uishi-san, trailed by a handful of police officers. He was acting energetically, in a way unfitting given the situation.
大して残ってないですよ。
There's not much left.
それでもよければ勝手にどうぞ。
You can have some if you want. Mion didn't like Uishi-san very much. Her cold attitude, though, didn't seem to bother Uishi-san in the slightest. It was like splashing water in a frog's face.
ありゃりゃ。
Well, now.
味噌汁のお残りってちょっと塩分高めなんですよね。
Miso soup leftovers have a bit too much salt for my taste.
参ったな。
Confound it.
君たちはいただきます？
Would you all like any? He recommended it to his subordinates, but everyone gave dry smiles and refused.
どうですか？警察の方では何か手がかりはつかめましたか？
So have the police gotten hold of any clues? Rena's smile was warm enough to replace the miso soup.
大丈夫ですよ、お嬢さん。
Don't you worry, little missy.
ご安心、ご安心。
Everything's fine.
ちゃんと探してるんですから。
We're searching for them real good. He didn't say a word about having found any new clues. In other words, there had been no progress. That sure was an annoying way of beating around the bush.
それよりも、
In any case,
もう本当に遅い時間です。
it really has gotten late.
どうぞ若い皆さんはお帰りになってお休みになってください。
All you youngsters should get on home and get some sleep.
体に触りますよ。
It'll be bad for your health otherwise.
そうだよ。
Yeah.
ケイちゃんもレナも今日はもう休みな。
Hey-chan, Rena, get some rest.
あとは税金で働いてるおっさんたちがやってくれるから。
These guys get our tax money. They'll handle it from here for us.
私たちだって税金払ってるんですけどね。
We're taxpayers too, you know.
蕎麦屋さんが自分の作った蕎麦食ってるみたいな気分ですよ。な。
I feel like a soba noodle chef eating my own soba. I'm so tired. I really wasn't in the mood for laughter. In fact, Uishi-san was the only one laughing like an idiot.
じゃあ、
I hate him, TBH. He's being a bit obnoxious right now, but I swear he's usually chill. You haven't seen all of Uishi. Okay. Seriously, please do your best.
帰ろう、ケイチ君。
Let's go home, Kichi-kun.
明日が辛くなるよ。
It'll be harder to wake up tomorrow if we don't.
そうです、そうです。
Yes, that's right.
なんならお二人をお送りしてもいいですよ。
I can always bring you home if you need.
熊ちゃん、車を回してあげてください。
Kuma-chan, why don't you bring the car around?
あ、結構です。
No
俺
thanks.
たち自転車で来てるんで。
We came on our bicycles, so
ご安心を。
no need to worry.
私たちワゴン車で来てますから。
We came in a truck.
自転車も積めますよ。
We'll just throw the bikes in the back. We may have gotten pretty sleepy, but we just needed to ride home at this point. Didn't want to bother the police like that. Rena, however, nodded.
せっかくだからお世話になろうよ。
Okay, if you insist, we'd appreciate it.
私たちだけで帰るよりきっと安全だよ。
Probably safer than if we went back alone. When I thought about it carefully, I realized that Rena's idea was extremely rational.
そうと決まれば行きましょう行きましょう。
No, two kids disappear on their bikes, and Keiichi's like, hey, no, I'd rather go with my friend and be two kids riding our bikes. Like, nah, man, I'm getting a ride with the cops today. Now that's decided, let's get a move on, shall we?
じゃあね。
Okay,
お
bye.
やすみ。
Good night,
レナもケイちゃんも。
Rena, Kei-chan.
うん、
Yeah,
みーちゃんも早めに休んでね。
Michan, you go to bed soon too, okay?
おやすみ。
Good night. I waved my hand as well, saying goodbye. Riko-chan and Satoko still hadn't been found. My unease, however, was steadily being pushed away by sleepiness. Ran to show the police where our bicycles were so that Uichi-san could haul them up into the truck. He prompted us to get into the back seat. I could hear the spring squeaking as I sat down onto a seat that would normally hurt my rear end. But at this point, it was very soft and was more than comfortable enough for me to just fall asleep on.
では、レディーファーストで。
He said that in English. Ladies first.
お嬢さんの家から行きましょう。
We'll start with the little Mrs. house.
住所はどちらです？
Where do you live?
ありがとうございます。
Thank you.
私の家はですね、
My house is, well... Rena's voice slowly grew distant. I felt myself being sucked into the void of sleep.
もしもーし。
Hello?
前原さん、完全に眠っちゃってますか？
Abara-san, are you asleep back there? Hmm? When I came to, it was quiet. Car was parked. Uichi-san was giving me light slaps to the cheek. It didn't feel good at all, so I woke up immediately.
すみません。すっかり寝込んじゃって。
I'm sorry, I just fell asleep. Something was being held right under my nose. Clump of metal? It was a can of coffee.
ぬるいですがね。
It's lukewarm by now.
甘いカフェオレなら常温でも結構飲めますよ。
The cafe a la is good even at room temperature.
どうも。
Oh, thanks. I mechanically took the can and opened the pull top. Feeling of the warm, sweet liquid going down my throat awakened my sleepy mind. When my drowsiness receded, I started wanting to know why the car was stopped and why I was offered coffee. 'Cause you're about to get interrogated, boy! Luigi-san, who had been in the driver's seat, had at some point moved to the back. Suddenly, I had a very bad feeling about this. It reminded me of the questioning yesterday at the library. It was already too late by the time I realized I'd made a mistake. Today, of all days, it didn't look like I'd be getting away. I had a feeling that until Luigi-san heard what he wanted to, he wouldn't be letting me go.
そんなに構えられても困ります。
Please, don't get all formal on me.
別に取って食おうってわけじゃないんですから。
I'm not gonna eat you or anything,
前原さん。
Maibara-san. Uichi-san gulped down the last of his coffee, then stretched wide, showing me how relaxed he was. That, however, only served to heighten my nervousness.
俺に、また何の用ですか？
What do you need from me?
よう。
Need?
いえいえ、別に別に。
Oh, no, nothing really. Gonna evade the question at this point? What a deeply unreadable man.
私からは用はないんですが。
Well, I don't need you for anything.
前原さんから私に用があるんじゃないかと思いましてね。
I just thought you might need something from me, Maibara-san.
別に、用なんかないです。
I don't need anything.
ありゃ。
Oh, I see.
本当に
Really?
あるんじゃないですか？
Are you sure there's nothing?
ふんふん。
There's only one side door in the back seat of his truck. In other words, my only exit was blocked off by Uichi-san. I couldn't get away. I could only limply hang my head and maintain my silence. Uichi-san, despite my reticence, relaxed and began smoking a cigarette. Crowds of the insects outside seemed to be growing longer and longer, to a amount of time that almost seemed infinite.
前原さんから相談したいことがきっとあったと思ってたんですけどね。
Here, I was sure that you had something you wanted to talk to me about. Uichi-san exhaled a puff of smoke. The windows were open, but the tobacco smoke still accumulated inside the vehicle. How much did Uichi-san know? What did he know, and what did he want to hear from me? If finding out the truth made you disappear, and if I told him, would Uichi-san disappear too? I had a feeling that I didn't need to worry about that in his case.
どうしてこんなことになっちゃったんでしょうね。
I wonder how all this ended up happening. Uji-san addressed me in a low tone as if he was talking to himself. How all this ended up happening? How the hell should I know? That was what I wanted to know.
富武二郎さんと高野美代さん、ご存知ですよね。
You know Jiro Tomitake-san and Mio Takano-san, right?
お祭りの時、園崎しおんさんを含めて4人で一緒におられたのを
Make Uishi disappear? No! Uishi's chill. You just haven't got a good impression of him. I know you do, because I personally witnessed you with them during the festival, along with Shion Sonozaki-san.
その富武さんと高野さん、今どうしておられるかご存知ですか？
Do you know how Tomitake-san and Takano-san are doing now?
実はお亡くなりになってましてね。
They've actually, well, passed away.
気の毒な死に方でした。
They met very untimely deaths. Uji-san probably played that card in order to surprise me. However, I already knew and didn't display the extreme reaction he expected.
おや？
What's
ひょ
this?
っとしてご存知でした？
Did you already know? Unfortunately for this question in particular, remaining silent was equivalent to saying yes.
じゃあこっちもご存知かな。
No, Tomitake said? You didn't know? Oh yeah, you've been missing out. Oh, so then did you also know?
富武さんと高野さんがたたりに遭われた理由の方です。
The reason Tomitake-san and Takano-san were cursed like that.
なんでもですね、入っちゃいけない禁断の建物に入ったからだって言われてるんですよ。
People are saying that apparently they went into some forbidden building. The storehouse for ritual implements. The forbidden shed sealing away Hinamizawa's bloodstained past. Yeah, I guess was that last stream? Really? Yeah, you gotta be watching. Where the mistake that started it all happened.
村長さんや古出里香さんもそのせいでたたりに遭われたんだという噂はご存知で？
Wait, he's talking to the one I thought was the Moiterer? Yes. That's the woman that is obsessed with, she was the one who was, like, obsessed with going in the storehouse and was telling us the creepy stories, and she's, Tomitake's girlfriend. Yeah, they're both dead. Do you know about the rumors? Let's say the mayor and Rika Furude-san were cursed because of that, too? That would mean it was mine and Shion's fault. He was right. As soon as we revealed what we did.
西宮殿って言いましたっけ？
What did they call it? A ritual storehouse?
あそこの鍵を簡易なものに付け替えたから賊に入られたんだっていうケチがついてるらしいんですよ。
You're saying it was bad luck. The lock to it had been replaced by a simpler one, which made it easier for thieves to get inside. What? This was news to me.
一昨年くらいまでは西宮殿にはでっかい缶抜きとでっかい錠前がいくつも付けられていたらしいんですよ。
Until last year, it apparently had these big bars and a huge padlock on it.
ところがほら、神主夫妻がお亡くなりになられて、今は古出里香さんが切り盛りされてるでしょ。
I'm gonna say to you in chat, you don't have to do this, but I would say if you have the time and want to, watching the chapter 1 streams would probably do you some good. You're missing out on some stuff by not having watched chapter 1. But it's not necessary, I guess, but I think it would benefit you. I mean, you know, ever since the priest and his wife passed away, Rika Furude-san has been managing the place, right?
缶抜きが重くて大変だから、もっと軽い簡単な錠前に付け替えてほしいと村長さんに相談したらしいんですよ。
Apparently, she talked to the mayor saying she wanted them replaced with a lighter, more simple padlock because the bars were too heavy for her. I didn't know anything about those big bars he was talking about. The lock had certainly been a simple one. I'm not a woman benefiting myself that much? Alright. Fair enough. It was a pretty cheap one, too, and it didn't really fit my impression of what a lock for a place you'd store something as important as ritual implements would look like.
リカさんはあの通り小柄な女の子ですからね。
Rika-san is a small girl, after all.
錆びついて重くなった缶抜きはしんどかったんでしょうな。
The bars were heavy with rust, and they must have caused her a lot of trouble.
で、村長さんが職人を手配して簡単な南京錠で鍵ができるように付け替えたんだそうです。
So the mayor hired a craftsman and replaced the lock with a simple padlock, so she could open it with a key.
それがどうしてケチがつくことになるんですか？
So, how does that mean it was bad luck?
つまりですね、
Here's what I'm saying.
前の厳重な錠前なら賊には忍び込まれなかった。村長さんとリカさんが勝手に安っぽい鍵に変えたから賊に破られたんだ。
Thieves couldn't get in with the old tight lock. The mayor and Rika-san replaced it with a cheap lock and key on their own, so thieves broke into it.
こういう話らしいんですよ。
Apparently that's how it's going down.
そんな話。
That explanation's a bit...
そういう話がまかり通ってて、一部の村人たちが西宮殿に忍び込んだ賊と賊に破られるような鍵に変えた村長とリカさんを罰したんだ。
Letting that slide, certain members of the village delivered punishment upon the thieves who stole into the ritual storehouse, as well as the mayor and Rika-san who changed the lock.
なんて話があったりなかったりしてるんですよ。
At least, those are the whispers that seem to be going around.
相原さん、
Maibara-san,
どう思います？
what do you think?
どう思うって、その一部の村人ってのもよくわからないし。
What do I think? I don't really know what you mean by certain members of the village.
御三家ってご存知ですか
Are you familiar with the three families?
な？綿流しのお祭りの開会式典で各家の代表がそれぞれ挨拶をなさってるでしょう？
Representatives from each of them give short addresses at the Watanagashi festival's opening ceremony. Did you see them?
祭りには途中から来たからよくは。
I came partway through the festival, so I don't really...
御三家ってのは平見沢の旧家の3つの家のことなんです。
Three families are the three oldest families in Hinamizawa.
具体的に言うと、君吉家、園崎家、古出家の3つのことです。
To give actual names, the Kimiyoshi family, the Sonozaki family, and the Furude family.
本当に古い家筋らしくてね。
They each have quite the lineage, it seems.
大昔から村の決め事は御三家が合議して決めるんだと言われてます。
Long ago, it's said that everything in the village was decided by a council of the three families. Kimiyoshi family. Old man Kimiyoshi, meaning the mayor's family. Sonozaki family was Mion's. So the Furude family was Rika-chan's family then.
園崎家が戦後に一気に勢力を拡大しましてね。
After the war, the Sonozaki family quickly expanded their influence.
例のダム闘争で反ダムの旗頭になってからは事実上平見沢を牛耳るトップに躍り出ました。
Practically speaking, after leading the fight against the construction during the dam conflict, they jumped to the top of the hierarchy in Hinamizawa.
でもですね、古いしきたりに従い、今でも重要な村の方針は御三家で合議して決めているんだそうです。
You see, though, in accordance with the old ways, they still decide important village matters only after consulting with the three families.
だから綿流しの開会挨拶も御三家の当主がそれぞれなさるんですよ。
That's why the leaders of the three families each have their own addresses at the start of Watanagashi.
つまり村長と園崎家の現当主のおばあ様、そして古出家の最後の一人、リカさんです。
In other words, the mayor, the old lady currently in charge of the Sonozaki family, and the last remaining member of the Furude family, Rika-san.
園崎家が大した家柄だという話は聞かされてたけど、リカちゃんの家もそういう旧家だったのか。
I heard that the Sonozaki family was pretty high up there, so Rika-chan's family was just as old?
まあご存知の通り、親族は全くおられませんから。
Well, as you're aware, she has no relatives at all.
古出家は事実上全く勢力を持ちませんがね。
In reality, the Furude family holds pretty much no influence.
ただ、リカさん個人には求心力があるようで、村のお年寄りには盲信する方が多いと聞いています。
However, it seems like people gravitate towards Rika-san on a personal level, and I hear that many of the village's elderly have blind faith in her. It was certainly true that Rika-chan had an odd sort of charisma amongst the elderly.
で、その御三家ってのが何だって言うんですか?
So, what are you telling me about all this three family stuff for? Uji-san paused for emphasis, lighting another cigarette.
ここまで説明してもまだ説明が足りませんかね。
I've explained a lot, but I suppose it's still not enough.
わからないから聞いてるんです。
Asking because I don't understand. Wuxia gave me a dry, meaningful grin and blew out another big puff of smoke.
御三家の人間が相次いで消されてるんです。
Members of the three families are disappearing one after the other.
どういうわけかね。
That's what I'm talking about.
ひなみ沢の内側の古い因習か何かに基づいているんじゃないかと読んでいるんですが、それ以上のことはさっぱり。
I've read that it's based on some kind of old traditions inherent in Hinamizawa, but I don't know much beyond that. I was gonna say, the fact that we have these three families kind of vying for power, the Sonozakis have been getting more powerful, and the mayor, who's a member of one of the other families, disappears, and then Rika, who's the last member of the third family. So now, there's only two families left, really, assuming Rika's, like, gone. And Kiyoshi is gone. He's, like, I guess, the head of that family. So, all I'm saying is we haven't seen any Sonozakis disappear yet, right?
そんなの俺にだってさっぱりです。
Unless I'm misremembering. I don't know anything about it either.
ですから。
That's why I'm asking.
君吉家、古出家の当主が消えたんですから、次は園崎家の当主が消えるんじゃないかな。
Is Mion next? I don't think she's the leader of her family. It's her grandma that is. But she's next in line after her grandma, I'm pretty sure. Leaders of the Kimiyoshi family and Furude families have disappeared, so maybe the leader of the Sonozaki family will disappear next.
なんて思ったり思わなかったりしたりする今日この頃、いかがお過ごしでしょうか。な
Well, that's just a random idea bouncing around in my head at the moment.
なんちゃって。
Just kidding, really.
その崎家の当主って誰だよ?
The leader of the Sonozaki family? Who is it?
当主は園崎本家のおばあちゃんなんですが、実質上の当主権限はもう孫娘のミヨンさんに移行していると見て間違いないでしょうね。
The current leader is the old lady at their main house, but it wouldn't be incorrect to say that practically all the rights of leadership have been transferred to her granddaughter, Mion-san. The visage of Mion giving prompt directions to the adults while searching for Rika-chan sprung back to mind.
ミヨンが
Mion?
消える?
She's gonna disappear? I hadn't even thought of that possibility. All my hair stood on end. That's insane.
嫌でしょう。
Nobody wants that, right?
当たり前だ.
Of course not.
そんなの許せるものか.
We can't allow that. Clamp. Uji-san grabbed my shoulders with both hands.
では協力を、前原さん。
Then help us, my Bara-san.
園崎ミヨンさんについて最近気づいたことを何でもいいから話してください。
If there's anything you've noticed about Mion Sonozaki lately, please tell me. Just going along with him? By the time I'd realized it was too late. Uji-san brought his face in closer, almost close enough to ram it into me, waiting for my next words. This pressure. Can't tear my eyes away from his... That moment I heard a beeping sound. It's from the driver's seat. He ignored it at first, but then it started to bother him, so he finally let go of me and leaned into the driver's seat.
もしもし。
Hello?
はいはい、感度良子。
Yep, loud and clear. I was saved. Of course, it's not like I could use this opening to escape.
そうですね。
I see.
はいはい。
Yes, all right.
では戻りましょう。
Let's head back then.
はいはい。
Yes.
はいはい。
Okay. Apparently he was being recalled. Now that I knew I'd be freed, the tension in my body dissipated all at once.
そろそろ戻らないといけないみたいです。
It looks like I need to get going.
これからがいいところだったんですが、残念ですね。
We're just getting to the good part too. That's too bad. We just then flung open the door, exited, and walked around the front of the driver's seat. He left the door open. Does that mean I could leave?
前原さんは友達思いの今時関心な若者です。
You really care about your friends, Mabaro-san. An admirable trait for a kid to have in this day and age.
友人のことを警察に喋ると、なんだか裏切っているような気持ちになるのをよくわかっていますよ。
I totally understand that it feels like you'd be betraying them if you told the police anything.
前原さん、
Mabaro-san.
一晩差し上げますから、ゆっくりお休みになってよく考えてくださいね。
It's the middle of the night, so get a good night's sleep and then think about it.
前原さんのほんのちょっとの勇気が結局大勢の友人を救うことにつながるかもしれないのです。
Just a little bit of courage from you might end up being what saves many of your friends in the end. Do you want to say that the sacrifices wouldn't stop with Rika-chan and Satoko?
わかってると思いますが、綿流し以降、毎晩何かが起こります。
You know this already, but every night since Watanagashi, something has happened.
これまでは毎年1回だったたたりが、今年は連日。
In the past, the curse only occurred once per year, but this time it's been going on for days.
本当に景気のいい年です。
What a prosperous year this has been.
そんなの景気がいいなんて言いません。
I don't think you can call that prosperous.
おととい、昨日、そして今日。
The night before last, last night, and now today.
明日の晩も起こらないなんて保証、どこにもありませんよ。
There's no proof that something won't happen tomorrow night as well.
それを未然に防ぐのが私たちの仕事ですが、それには前原さんの協力が不可欠なんです。
It's our job to prevent such things before they happen, but for that we need your cooperation, my Baro-san. I looked out the open door to see none other than my own house right in front of me. Creeped me out that he knew my name and address, but I was too sleepy right now. I was too sleepy to care.
まあ、今日はもう眠いでしょ
Well, you're probably tired.
う。もう3時になりますからね。
It's already 3 in the morning.
どうぞごゆっくりお休みになってください。
Please, get yourself a good rest.
はい。
Yes, sir.
では、失礼します。
I'll be going now. When I was about to get out of the truck as if to deliver a parting blow, Ushi-sen said in a raised voice,
私、前原さんが話す気になってくれるまで、
I'll be-
毎日来ちゃいま
I'm
す。
sorry, I talked over him. I'll be coming by every day until you feel like talking, alright?
取り調べして自白を強要っての、もう時代じゃないと思いますんで。
I don't believe forcing you to confess in an interrogation room is really in fashion these days. I couldn't say anything in response, but me slamming the door shut probably served the same purpose. After lightly beeping the horn, Uji-sen's truck drove off. I went to the front door without waving goodbye. The door was locked, but the chain wasn't up. I unlocked the door and entered. Then walked over to the staircase. That was where I lost consciousness. What a good time we're having. Oh, where is my good friends Rika and Satoko? Oh. 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 Go home already, says the trophy. Fuck you. You new tips. So many of them. From the scrapbook. Sonozaki family. The one who drastically expanded its influence after the war was the Sonozaki family. The leader at the time was Oryu Sonozaki, who still has that seat today. Oryu Sonozaki has grown old, and today can only catch a glimpse of who she was at the time. From what I've been told, however, she was a leader extolled as the best in history. Having become so old, aside from going out a few times a week for lessons, she spends her time at home in solitude and seems to leave most of the ceremonial affairs to her heir, Mion. There are different views on why the successor was not her daughter, but her granddaughter Mion. But it's rumored that it has to do with disownment of her daughter and son-in-law. That uninhibited granddaughter, Mion Sonozaki, still shows no signs of the dignity required of the next leader. However, she does have Sonozaki blood in her veins and is permitted in the name of demon. She still doubtlessly requires caution and is probably hiding her fangs and claws, as skillfully as the leaders of the past did. I'm losing my trust in my good friend Mion, you know? Her family seems to be up to some shady shit. If a Sonozaki isn't the next one to disappear, and it's instead someone else, I'm gonna start getting more suspicious.
はい。郵便局員も目撃してないそうです。園崎本家は郵便受けにハンコが吊るしてあるそうで、書き留めも宅配便も勝手にハンコをして投函していいことになってるんだそうっす。
Yes, the postal worker hasn't seen anything either. Sonozaki main house has their seal hanging from their mailbox so anyone can stamp their mail or parcels with it and drop it in.
そりゃ不用心ですね。ってことは、最後の目撃はいつになるんです？
That's rather careless of them. So when was she last seen?
綿流しの開会式でした挨拶が最後です。その後すぐに帰宅したらしいっすから。
Okay, but like Takano was crazy. Yes, but like I think the fact that like the leader of the Kimiyoshi family disappeared. Next day, the leader of the Furude family disappears. Last remaining member of the Furude family as well. So if Rika is gone, that's just that family gone. The Sonozaki seem to be vying for power. Maybe, because they've been kind of gaining influence since the damn stuff. Like, if a Sonozaki isn't the next to disappear, maybe not Mion have his involvement, but I'm gonna start to suspect that the Sonozaki family has some influence here. She was last seen at the Watsunagashi opening ceremony greetings. She apparently returned home right after that.
これですからね。話じゃ週に何回かお稽古ごとで外出してるそうじゃないですか。
Well, she is pretty old. From what I've heard, she goes out a few times a week to take lessons, right?
そっちはどうです？
Have you found anything out about that?
毎週月曜に集会所で大正事を習ってるんですが、今週は休んだそうです。
Every Monday, she goes to the assembly hall to practice the Taisho Goto, but she didn't go this week.
欠席の電話とかは？それを誰かが確認したとかは？
Any calls to say she wasn't going to be there? Has anyone confirmed it?
いえ、誰も。ただ、たまに休むことがあったらしいので、誰も不審には思わなかったようです。
No, nobody. She apparently takes days off once in a while, though, so no one thought it was strange.
明日さ、10時くらいになったら市役所のふりして電話してみましょうかね。在宅を確認してみてください。
Tomorrow, why don't we pretend we're at the town hall and call around 10 o'clock? Please figure out whether she's at home.
10時ですね。了解っす。
10 o'clock? Got it. Ever since it started to seem more and more like ancient Hinamizawa tradition has something to do with all this, even keeping a careful eye on the three families. At this point, the leader of the Kimiyoshi family and the leader of the Furude family had disappeared. There was only one leader left. Oryu Sonozaki, the leader of the Sonozaki family. She's apparently a pretty old woman. Her dignity hasn't waned, but she still only appeared before people rarely, so it was difficult to confirm where she was at any given time. She, the last leader, hadn't been seen since the day of Watsunagashi. Was she still alive and well within the Sonozaki main house? Or had she...
園崎ミオンが言うには、体調を崩して寝込んでるんだそうです。
According to Mion Sonozaki, she had fallen ill and was sleeping it off.
本当に寝込んでるのかな。顔と脈を見てみたいですね。
I wonder if she's really sleeping. I'd like to take a look at her face and her pulse.
まったくっす。
You can say that again. The two of them breathe out a big puff of cigarette smoke.
おいさん、園崎本家と古出神社の捜査令状、申請通ると思います？
Uishi-san, about the search warrant for the Sonozaki main house and the Furude Shrine. Think we'll get them? Uishi didn't respond, exhaled another cloud of tobacco smoke, his surroundings now as foggy as his mind. Splendid. Oh boy, more scrapbook. I didn't mean to do that. The Hidden Demon. The inhabitants of Hinamizawa believe that the blood of demons flows in their blood. As such, the character for demon is treated as very sacred. For example, usage of the character in names is apparently right reserved for only the leaders of the Kimiyoshi and Sonozaki families. What about the Furudes? Case in point, we can see it in the current Sonozaki family leader's name, Oryu, is written with the character whatever that is. This, and only this, is proof that she is a legitimate leader of the Sonozaki family. In the same way, Mion Sonozaki, its successor, contains in her name, with Mi being written as. It also goes for Oryu's daughter and Mion's mother, Akane, who did not succeed her. It's known that before the disowning, Akane's name was actually written as, though it was changed afterwards to, still read as Akane. That's awesome. Incidentally, it's thought that the first character of the Mayor Chiro's name originally meant demon, which can also be read as Ki. It should be said that names using the character aren't limited only to successors of the Sonozaki family. You can even find it in the last names of the three families. For example, the characters for Kimiyoshi are likely a split-up version of that. If you write it in reverse and top to bottom as that, it clearly resembles the character. Yo, this is all Japanese. That's not my business. As for the Furude family, who have been in the Shinto priesthood for generations, the word for fortune teller can be written without interval characters as that. I think that with the addition of a demon's horn, the tick on the top of the character, that becomes the, and that is using their name now. I don't know any Japanese. In the case of the Sonozaki family, where Sonozaki is written like that, I can't find any reference to the character, perhaps because it's already ingrained into their first names. They were the clan responsible for running the Watanagashi ceremony, so I think that instead they include the contents of that ceremony into their last name. The Zaki in Sonozaki is a conjugation of the word for slice, and the Sono, written as that, probably contains the hidden meaning of human body. It is a complicated mess, organs, enclosed by four sides. Huh. Interesting. Cool theory. I think, in other words, the Sonozaki comes from those who slice open the gut. That's a cool fucking theory, Takano. Too bad you're dead. I'm back.
どうです？何か手がかりはありました？
How'd it go? Did you find any clues? The officers shook their heads in disappointment. Exhaustion was plainly showing on everyone's faces. That was only natural. None of them had gotten a wink of sleep since the day of Watanagashi.
課長、若い子から交代で仮眠取らせてあげてください。
Chief, let the youngest of us take a nap and then switch them out.
ここからは長丁場になりますからね。
We've got a long stretch ahead of us after all.
無理せず、体を休めながらのんびり行きましょう。
Let's not push ourselves too hard. Rest up so we can take it easy as we go.
みんなには交代で休めって言ってるんだけどね。みんな遠慮してなかなか休んでくれないんだよ。
I've been telling them to sleep in shifts. Nobody actually seems willing to sleep, though.
お石さんからも言ってくれないか。
Did you tell them yourself, Uishi-san?
ありゃありゃ。みんな遠慮しないでいいんですよ。
Oh my. You don't need to force yourselves.
小宮山君、
Komiyama-kun.
若い子から順に交代で休ませてあげてください。
Please let everyone sleep in shifts, starting with the youngest.
小宮山さん、そうしてあげてください。
Komiyama-san, please do that. After the chief told him as well, Komiyama-san left his seat.
で課長、例の請求なんですけど、まだダメそうです。
So, Chief, still no good on a request?
第一、村人の噂だけなんでしょ。もっと具体的な証拠がなければ難しいよ。
Just a rumor among the villagers in the first place, you know. It's going to be difficult without more concrete evidence.
その証拠があの中に詰まってるかもしれないんですよ。
Even when that evidence might be tucked away in there?
その証拠が中に詰まっているという証拠が必要なんだよ。
We need evidence that evidence is tucked away in there.
課長、なぞなぞやってるんじゃないんですよ。
Chief, don't start speaking in riddles to me now.
死んだ2人を含む4人が綿流しの晩に西宮殿と呼ばれる禁断の蔵に無断で入り込み、それを何者かが見ていた。
We have witnesses that say 4 people, including the 2 who died, went to the forbidden ritual storehouse without permission.
ここまでは信頼できる情報なんです。
This is all reliable information.
情報と言ったってあくまでも噂だよ。証拠があるわけじゃない。
You might call it information, but they're really only rumors, not concrete evidence.
そりゃまあ、4人が放火無理して忍び込む写真はありませんがね。
Well, it's true that we don't have any pictures of the 4 of them sneaking in with cloth tied around their heads.
とにかく、4人は西宮殿の中で何かを見たんです。消されるくらいの何かを。
Anyway, those 4 saw something inside the storehouse. Something important enough that they'd be erased.
消されるくらいの何か？それは何だい？
Important enough they'd be erased? What would that be exactly? That's why I'm asking for a warrant to go looking for it in the first place.
園崎家絡みの暴力団関係が有力候補ですな。
Anything pointing out the Sonozaki family's connection to violent organizations would be a major contender.
拳銃の山か密造工場か。
Like a pile of Tokarevs or a secret poppy production facility.
園崎家の隠し資産ってのも捨てがたいあたりです。
The secret Sonozaki family fortune would also be pretty difficult to discard.
大石さん、気持ちはわかるけど、あの西宮殿ってのは古出神社にある神聖な建物で、地元の人間への相当な配慮が必要な建物なんだよ。
Look, Uishi-san, I know how you feel. However, that storehouse is a sacred building belonging to the Furude Shrine, and we need to have proper consideration for the locals when dealing with it. I heard that there was an hour-long call made from Congressman Sonozaki to the big man. Chief, could he have nailed you back down?
とにかく、相当の証拠がない限り、西宮殿の捜査令状は取れないよ。
Anyway, as long as we don't have suitable evidence, we won't get a search warrant for the storehouse.
園崎本家への令状も同じだ。
That goes for the Sonozaki main house, too.
特に園崎本家への捜査は、四課と県警の傍体が絡んでる。
Especially considering that that's the jurisdiction of both Section 4 and the Prefectural Police's Crime Prevention Division.
入念な事前調整がいるんだ。
We need careful preparations first.
調整がいるってんなら、私直接乗り込んでつけてきてもいいですよ。四課長はしげちゃんでしょう。
If you say you need preparations, then why don't you just let me talk with them directly? Shiga-chan is the head of Section 4, right?
傍体は三階さん。
For crime prevention, it's Sankai-san.
隣の雀荘で話した方が早そうなメンツですね。
They seem like they'd be quicker to talk if I sat them down at a mahjong table.
課長にお客様です。
Chief, you have a visitor. Yikes. Fucking hitting the yikes? Pushing the employee who guided him in right out of the way was an old man who looked like a Yakuza member, given his crested kimono and hakama. Did he not get enough of this over the phone?
わしは議員の園崎じゃ。責任者を出さんか。
I'm Congressman Sonozaki. I demand to know who's responsible for this.
はよせい。
This instant.
どうも。私が課長の高杉でございます。
Hello, I'm the division chief, Takasugi.
お前の名刺なぞいらんわ。お前なんぞいつだって官職に飛ばせるんじゃぞ。
I don't need your name. I could have you demoted on a whim.
それにお前だけでは足らん。
You wouldn't even be enough.
大石とかいう男も呼ばんか。
Bring out the one called Uishi or whatever.
神聖な古出神社に捜査令状なんぞを請求しよった罰当たり者じゃ。
He deserves punishment for requesting a search warrant on the sacred Furude shrine.
申し訳ございません。大石はただいま捜査に出ておりまして、なかなか連絡がつきにくく、私が代わって受けたまわりますので。
I sincerely apologize. Uishi is currently out on investigation and he's been difficult to contact. I'll take his place and hear you out.
どうぞおかけください。
Please, have a seat. The chief's eyes were telling me to get out of here. Perhaps I'll gratefully accept this favor. Maybe I'll go lay down in the nap room.
よいか。古手神社はそもそも公暦2600年に次ぐ2500年の歴史を有する神聖にして犯すべからずの聖地なのじゃ。
Listen here. The Furude Shrine spent 2,600 years under the imperial calendar and 2,500 more beyond that. It is sacred, a sanctuary that must never be defiled.
八百万の神々とお社様と先祖の霊を祭り、日が昇りてから沈むまで、月が昇りてから沈むまで、ひなみ沢を見守る尊い神社なのじゃ。
The 800,000 gods, Oyashiro-sama, and the spirits of our ancestors are enshrined there. The holy shrine protects Hinamizawa from when the sun comes up to when it sets, and from when the moon rises to when it falls.
それを土足で踏みにじろうというバカがいる。
Who was the idiot who wanted to set foot in there?
そもそも信仰の自由は憲法で定められた国民の最も尊い権利であろうが、それを自らの捜査の怠慢を口実に汚そうという魂胆。
Besides, the right to religion is the most revered right of the people of this country in the Constitution. You dare to be so bold as to sully that using your own investigation's negligence as pretext?
こんなものは断じて許せんぞ。聞いておるのか、大竹が。
I cannot, I will not allow it. Are you listening, you lying scum?
わしを怒らせて、ただで済むと思わん方がいいぞ。
I'm angry now, so you're not getting off the hook that easily. It ain't... I guess it's that big of a deal, huh? I guess I fucked up going in there. Keiichi had no idea what he was getting himself into. We are only getting through like one chapter at a time anymore. Get me out of here! I don't want to be here! Quit game! These chapters are getting so long. You know what I want to play to improve the mood? I got the perfect song.
Wix.
That's an ad. Get out of here, Wix. I don't care about Wix. Here we go. That's exactly what we need. Ah. No offense, but you've been spending 30 minutes at the start of stream eating. Yeah, I did do that, but also, like... Even then, we wouldn't have time to get through a full 2 chapters anymore like we could. Because, like, even if I wasn't eating, like, what? We'd be able to start the next chapter and get 30 minutes in? I wonder if the other chapters will continue to be this long. Maybe we're just in some particularly long chapters. Because normally they're about an hour, hour and a half, but they've been like 2. Because, like, I could always, like, I always kind of feel better ending on it, on ending a chapter and starting the next chapter the next stream. It always just feels like a good spot to stop. Even if we do end the stream a bit earlier. But, yeah, this game is always trying to make me question, like, what's going on. And I know that's the point. Like, is it supernatural? I think this chapter is like 4 hours. Jesus Christ. Yeah, that's not going to be one stream. But yeah, like, this game is always trying to make you question, like, is it supernatural or is it the working of just people? Is it a curse or what's going on? Because, like, Ueshi brought up traditions of Hinamizawa when talking about the leaders of the families disappearing, which he didn't elaborate on that any further for us, so I don't know what's going on there. But like, we'll have to see what goes on with the leader of the Sonozaki house, Oryu, or Oryo. It's pronounced probably like Oreo, but I swear I heard them say Oryu at some point, but I could have misheard them. But, yeah. Satoko and Rika are nowhere to be seen right now, which is leaving me a little concerned. I think I'm not in a deep despair yet because, well, they're only missing. It's not confirmed they're, like, dead or anything, but we've had people disappear before and they never turn back up, so I don't know. I'm a little worried. But, like, is it the work of the Sonozakis? Because we've heard that they've got some affiliations. They seem to have a lot of positions in power. Is it supernatural with the curse? Because, like, Neon was being a bit weird earlier today, and in thumbnail stuff, oh yeah, I want that moon, like, background CG, and I probably want, a Rika and a Satoko, since they're, well, you know. Maybe an Uishi-san too. Give me Uishi. Chapters 1 to 4 are called the question arcs for a reason. I see that. But yeah, I'm leaning towards the supernatural explanation. Just because of Chapter 1. But Chapter 1's relevance is always being called into question for me. I don't want to mention Chapter 1 too much, because one, Jaden, you've already read and watched me. You've already read Chapter 1 yourself and have played it. The other person here, I know you haven't, which is why you're so clueless, but some advice I can give is to think more logical about things. Because, like, the thing that, like, trips me up the most is when the characters go demon mode, where their eyes glaze over and they start spitting out info they shouldn't know and start talking completely different. Mion's the big one. The thing is, though, I'm very clueless. Okay, I'm gonna give you a warning right now. I'm about to start talking about Chapter 1. Which, like, I feel like giving you a spoiler warning for Chapter 1's probably silly since you're watching me play Chapter 2 here. But I'm just going to mention Chapter 1. Like, we see both Rena and Mion get those glazed over eyes, and they start talking different, acting different, far more aggressive. And, like, well, we all remember how Chapter 1 ends. Well, not you in chat, because you weren't there for that. But, like, Rena was the easy one to explain, because it's like, oh, we actually learned she's got mental health issues. So, like, you know, she could just be experiencing that. Mion's the hard one to explain, though. Once Mion started being weird, the supernatural explanation started to become more valid. Especially with just, like, with the disappearances and deaths. How crazy some of them are. Like, Satoko's parents just falling off a cliff. Of course, here's the deal. Those deaths could all be coincidences, right? And, like, they could be explained retroactively via the curse. Like, it's entirely possible Satoko's parents might really just, nothing supernatural, just fell to their deaths off a cliff. And people later, looking for a reason to explain why they died, said, oh, it was the curse. But a new angle that comes in here is... It is a bit crazy that... Stories often tell us things that we sometimes have the tendency to just swallow up. However, Ryukishi07 said the ideal way to experience Higurashi is to challenge it and treat it like a game. Interesting. That's why every chapter starts with a difficulty thing? Oh. Because I guess, like, there's always the question of what info I'm being fed is reliable or not. Because we've got differing takes from different characters. A lot of the villagers, of course, they believe it is Oyashiro-sama's curse. Uishi-san is more on the side of its people. He seems pretty convinced that the village is at least in on it, or that it's specifically the Sonozakis are up to shit. He doesn't trust the Sonozakis, clearly. The Sonozakis don't really seem to like him, or at least Mion doesn't like him. And we've got some interesting tidbits from Takano. But again, is Takano a reliable source of information? I don't know. Her journal seems interesting, with her picking apart stuff. Mia was pretty friendly at the shrine, though. Well, like, I don't know. She seemed respectful, but I didn't get the impression she very much liked him. Things are weird. I'm leaning towards... I want to believe that it's not supernatural. I can believe Takano was heavy into her theories and had her crazy beliefs. The village is, of course, superstitious. That's not surprising. Small, rural communities tend to be. Yeah, no, you can't tell me things. We can't really talk about it, because you already know everything. But, like, my gut tells me it's not supernatural. But at the same time, there is just the fact about how Chapter 1 goes. And how, like, Chapter 1 happens. Fucking Rena and Mion go nuts. They try to inject me with shit, and I end up killing them. And then I end up clawing my own throat out in a phone booth. And then we just open chapter 2, and everything's been reset to before the Watanagashi. And Rena is fine, Mion is fine, Keiichi is fine. They don't remember anything. It's all basically like a new timeline almost. Like, is chapter 1 just an intro, like, tutorial chapter almost? Or is it canon in the way that, like, literally things have been reset, or chapter 1 has some significance in that way? I don't know where in my mind, I don't know how I think of chapter 1. Like, I don't know what role it serves. Like, I don't know if chapter 1 is something that canonically has happened. The difference between the first chapter, between this chapter and the first, pretty important to think about. Yeah. No, because, like, the clear thing is, in chapter 1, I mean, the events are completely different. There's things that happen in chapter 1 that don't happen in chapter 2, and vice versa. Like the Colonel Sanders thing never happens, but in chapter 1, we also never get the little contest we have at the game store in chapter 2. Like, all of the events are different. There's some through lines, like Satoshi is missing still to this day. Like, that's not changed. I'm trying to think about the deaths from the all of the Shiro-sama cursed deaths and disappearances. I think they all still line up, unless I'm not remembering all of them. There was a lot of deaths and disappearances, so I might not remember all of them, but I think all of them line up. Rena hasn't gotten the eyes yet. Yeah, I was about to say, Rena hasn't gone nuts yet. It's only Mion, and she went crazy kind of just now. Even then, though, we didn't see the eyes fully. We got that CG of the weird red eyes, but we didn't actually get to fully see the sprite, because the top half was shrouded in mystery while the bottom was clear. So, like, we didn't actually get to see Mion's eyes really on the sprite. But I think it's basically worth saying, yeah, she probably got demon mode again. Which, why does that happen? That's one of the biggest questions. Because also in chapter 1, like, not only are Rena and Mion after us, but, like, we have some random villagers chase us down, but they don't do anything to us. We just get knocked unconscious and we get left there for Rena to find us. Which, I don't know, it's weird. But, like, of course, what's changed, like, the biggest thing that's changed is instead of Shion was in the last chapter, yes, that's also big. Shion didn't exist. She's a new player. And I want to try and think of, like, what the significance of Shion now being here is. And also, like, with the Watanagashi in chapter 1, it was Tomitake who died, and Takuno went missing. Not dead, missing. Because they always say with the Watanagashi, someone goes missing and someone dies. And that's always how it goes. But in chapter 2, it's changed. Now, both Tomitake and Takuno are dead. Their bodies were both found. So we have 2 dead people on the Watanagashi. And now 3 people have disappeared. I mean, and Satoko's disappearance is the crazy one. Because you're led to believe that, like, the reason that the mayor and Rika disappeared is because Shion and Keiichi both told those 2 about them breaking into the storehouse. And they both kind of said the same thing of, don't worry, leave it to me, it'll be fine. And then they both disappear. But Satoko's missing too. And also we got that alternative explanation from Uishi where he's like, hey, it was actually, we think, because the padlock got changed out and made it easier for thieves to get in. And the mayor and Rika were the ones who did that, so... like... that's an alternative explanation. There's also the fact that specifically it's the 3 families that seem to be impacted and their leaders are being taken out. Because the mayor happens to be the head of the Kimiyoshi family. Rika happens to be the one and only of the Furude family. And like now there's no sighting of Oryu, the head of the Sonozaki family has not been seen, which isn't unusual because she's like a shut-in or whatever, but like she's just nowhere to be seen and could be missing too. Let me know that every incident before this only had one death and one disappearance. Why is this time different? That's what I'm saying! I don't know! I've been thinking about it. It's been on my mind. But I don't know. Takano's journal definitely tries to make the three families seem pretty sinister, with the history of Hinamizawa being Onigafuji. But is Takano reliable? Because she's like believing in like demon legends and shit. Which, like, could the supernatural be real in the context of this story? Maybe, but trying to approach it logically as if this was real life, I'd be like, no, of course the demon legends aren't real. So there's a pretty obvious weird thing with this chapter relates to Shion and Mion. I don't know what one thing in particular you mean. There's a lot of weird stuff with them, in my opinion. Shion seems to have no ties to the actual Sonozaki house. That's weird to me. Anyway, the stream's been running long enough, so I'm gonna call it here for a night. But I'll catch you all next time. I haven't been streaming as consistently lately, I apologize for that. So whenever Higurashi and Dark Souls happen next, I'll see you all there.